Hello everyone, my name is Blocks, and today we are back on Roblox Studio. So we are back to working on our pet game. In the last episode, we made this little fire kind of demonic area over here. And since last episode, I actually moved the sacrifice area to go into a little separate island. Shout out to Pika Likes Money for the idea. I think it looks much nicer having its own little dedicated area. And I do have something really cool planned for this little spot now since it's open, but I'll take care of that later because I think that's going to be quite the learning experience. But for today's video, we're going to be heading over to our ice/winter themed area. I'm thinking we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did with the fire area, is that we'll start with the fence, make it more ice themed, and do a border around the side. And then probably swap out these beams again. I already have a pretty fun idea. I think we're going to turn these into snowmen instead of just these wooden beams. And then I'll have to start thinking about what to add inside of the actual center of it. So let's go hop on Blender and retexture the fence. So here is the default fence. And I really like this light blue to white. I think that looks kind of like ice. So I think we'll go with that one. So we're going to grab the fence and just simply move it over here. I do want a little bit more of a gradient, so let's scale the y-axis. Honestly, even just that is looking pretty good. I'll try to move it a little bit lower so it's a little bit more blue. I think even just that looks pretty good. So let's go import this into Roblox Studio now. So here's our fence, a little bit too big, so let's scale that down real quick. There we go, that looks much better. So I think that's where we're going to keep our very first post. Now we can start duplicating it and make an entire circle around it. Same thing as last time, just going to keep duplicating and rotating. So I'll fast forward for you guys. And there we go, we have a fence built. So now that we have the fence, let's move on to making the little snowmen for the posts. So now let's jump back into Blender. So here we are back in Blender. Let's get rid of the cube. And then let's add an icosphere, but let's add some sides to it. I think around there should be good once we decimate it. It should hopefully get rid of some of them. It doesn't look so perfect and even. Let's make the first one a little bit bigger. For the snowman, it should be pretty simple. Just copy paste. Make this one smaller. And then again, just copy paste and make the last one smaller. Okay, so I made them a little bit almost lopsided and try to squish them down a bit so they're not perfect circles. Now we're gonna start decimating them a little bit so it makes them more blocky looking. We're here to decimate and start turning it down a little bit. So it kind of matches the rest of the game a little bit more. That looks pretty good, I think. Now let's do the middle one, maybe around there, and then the last one. And then we're gonna auto smooth it just a little bit, just so it's a little bit smoother. Actually, I'm fine with it going completely smooth because it is snow, so it's supposed to be a bit smooth. So I think that actually looks pretty good. So we'll add the coals on the body, like a carrot nose and a top hat. So here's gonna be our lump of coal. So there's our lumps of coal. We'll color it here in a second. Next, we can just probably use a regular cone for the nose. And then all we have to do is go into edit mode, go to face selection and just scale this one down. That looks pretty good. And then just scale the whole thing down. There's our very basic snowman. Let's try coloring it and hope that makes it look a little bit better, because right now it does look kind of rough. Okay, so there's the snowman. Now let's do the coal. And then real quick before we color the coal, I'm going to try something. Because right now all of them are very uniform. And while I could try to rotate them to make them look different, I'm going to try something different. Let's go back to icosphere, but we're going to make it a lot more subdivisions. Try 3 maybe, and then move it over here. I'm just going to try to decimate this to see if that will randomly kind of get rid of the sides. Hopefully that makes the shape not perfectly symmetrical like a D20. Let's go to decimate and start taking stuff apart and see how it looks. I think this shape is looking a lot better. Let's keep going though. I think this looks a little bit better, slightly more natural, a little bit more lopsided here and there. Not a perfect geometric shape. Let's get rid of these and start using this one. I think that looks a little bit better. And now we can just copy paste these. And we'll rotate them a bit, just so it's not the exact same shape every time. Yeah, I think that looks much better than when it was before. There we go. So now let's go and texture these. Just gonna texture them all at once. So that's what we have so far. Now let's color the nose. I think that's a pretty good color. Move it a little bit further down, and then let's go and apply it. And I think he actually came out pretty well. I will attempt to make a top hat, but I don't expect it to come out well, but we'll try it anyway. And there is our snowman. I think overall it came out okay. And so now let's export it into Roblox so we can use it in Studio. So here is our giant snowman. Let's make him a little bit smaller here. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's copy him over to the other side. So now we just Control D to make a copy. And from what I understand is that within Roblox Studio, you actually can't mirror the item. So I'm going to go back into Blender and mirror the object and export it out again. So be right back. So there they are. Let's go hop in game to see how they look. Yeah, I forgot to anchor them, so they're just going to fall apart. So there they are. I think they came out pretty decent. Should I move the left one over just a little bit because you can still see a little bit of the bridge poking out. But besides that, I mean, I think they came out pretty nice. Also, I didn't anchor the fence. Oh my god, hold up. So here's the ice area so far. So now I gotta start brainstorming of what to add inside the area, as well as think of a mechanic we can add to it. So the other island has the sacrifice mechanic. I think over here we'll have like an upgrade station. Now I just gotta think of a creative way to add an upgrade station in an ice area. But before we get into that, let's just work on some trees. I already have an idea of what kind of trees I want. Now I'm gonna try to make a tree and have it be a different style of tree than the other ones. More like pine trees, I guess. Gonna make this a little bit less sharp. Bring it down a bit. I think right there looks pretty good. We're gonna select this face and get rid of it. I think we can use the solidify modifier to make this like not paper thin. I think about there looks pretty good. We'll keep it like that. We're going to use the knife tool to make some cuts here. Now we can go and delete these cutouts. And then we'll just rotate each layer to give it some variance. I think it's looking pretty good so far. So here is the tree so far. Let me make this one maybe not so lopsided. Straighten it out a little bit. Okay, I think that looks a little bit better. And now we just got to make a cylinder to make the actual trunk of the tree. I think there is our finished tree. Now we just have to color everything. I think we're also going to make the leaves blue. We'll try out like this kind of darker blue and see how it looks. Scale the Y down so it's not quite as much gradient. Let's see how that looks. So there's the first layer. I think we're going to make the leaves more white rather than blue so that it looks like snow. So let's go and swap this one out. I think that looks pretty good actually. And I'm actually going to stretch the Y out to get a little bit more of a gradient since now the colors aren't super harsh. I think that looks pretty good. Now let's do the rest. So here's the final product. I think it came out pretty decent. Now all we have to do is export this into Roblox. So let's go do that. Here we are back on Studio. Let's go import the tree. So I think that looks pretty good for now. I think we're just going to reuse the rocks that we used over here, except just make them a different color. So let's go and do that real quick. Be right back. I think the color came out pretty well. So now we're just going to keep copying and pasting these until we have a full path. So there's the path. Let's go check it out in game. And as always, I forgot to anchor the trees. So let's go take care of that real quick. So I think the path came out pretty nice. Now I just gotta think of like a couple more things to add to fill in the rest of the space. Definitely gonna have some kind of mechanic, most likely just an upgrade area. And we are back. So it's been like 2 or 3 days. It has been a very long journey, but I finally got it to a spot where I'm happy with. So I ended up going with like an Arctic facility theme. And as you can see, I went kind of crazy with the particle effects since I finally figured out how they work. Got like a futuristic matrix thing over here on the upgrade pad. And I got these circles to make it look like it's transmitting stuff. And we added a scarf to the egg. So I think that's where we're going to stop now for the winter island. Let's actually head in game real quick to see how it looks like. Make sure everything's anchored because I doubt everything is. And surprisingly, everything actually stayed together. So the current idea is to have this be like a research or upgrade station. And then I do like how the scarf turned out for the egg. I got to use some new tools in Blender for this one. And I think it came out pretty well. And I did try originally adding a beam effect to make it look like electricity is going through the cables. And I technically got it to work, but it looked pretty rough. So that's going to go on hold for now. Eventually though, that would be really cool to have. But overall, I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out. So that's going to be the second island complete on our pet game. So if you guys want to see more updates and more behind the scenes of how we're making the game, make sure to comment that below. And as always, if you made it this far into the video, thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. It does help out an absolute ton. And I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.